Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to explore how a genuinely ancient philosophy can serve as the ultimate personal operating system, one that's designed specifically to help you navigate the absolute chaos of modern life. I am so excited to share this with you because what we're looking at today, it isn't just theory. It's a highly practical, incredibly powerful way of thinking that can actually change your day-to-day life. Just think about your average day for a second. Do you ever feel completely overwhelmed by your responsibilities? Or maybe you're stressed out by the endless news cycle, or find yourself constantly distracted by the ping, ping, ping of your smartphone. Well, if you feel like your days are being eaten alive by stress, overwork, or endless digital distractions, you are definitely not alone. But the really great news here is that there is an antidote, and it's actually a lot older than you might think. All right, we are going to be pulling from some absolutely incredible source material today. We're looking at The Daily Stoic by Ryan Holiday and Stephen Hanselman. This book does something brilliant. It takes these ancient texts, like the private diaries of Roman emperors and the lectures of former slaves, and translates them into a daily, highly applicable framework for self-mastery and resilience. It's basically a modern manual for living a truly great life. Here is our agenda for this explainer. First, the Stoic misconception. Second, the architects of wisdom. Third, the big three disciplines. Fourth, the dichotomy of control. Fifth, ruthless clarity. And finally, the daily practice. Section 1. The Stoic misconception. To kick things off, we really have to address a massive linguistic injustice that's been dealt to the word Stoic over the centuries. When most people hear that word, they picture someone who is completely emotionless, just bottling up all their feelings, or maybe they think of some incredibly boring, esoteric academic field. But the historical reality, it is completely the opposite. True Stoicism is a vibrant, action-oriented, and paradigm-shifting way of living. It's an active toolkit for finding joy, purpose, and extreme resilience. Section 2. The Architects of Wisdom. To really grasp its true power, we don't need to look at academics sitting in ivory towers. We need to look at who actually uses this philosophy, out in the real world, in the trenches. This is a pragmatic, battle-tested playbook. Historically, you had Marcus Aurelius, a literal Roman emperor holding ultimate power, using it right alongside Epictetus, a former slave who endured immense hardship. It guided founding fathers like George Washington and Theodore Roosevelt, and it is certainly not stuck in the past. Today, it's used by the coaching staffs of the New England Patriots and Seattle Seahawks, hip-hop icons like LL Cool J, and top-tier CEOs. The absolute doers of the world rely on this stuff. And honestly, that is exactly why high performers flock to this mindset. Modern entrepreneurs and authors like Tim Ferriss actually refer to Stoicism as an essential software patch for the human mind. And I love that analogy. Think of it exactly like that. It's an operating system upgrade for your brain that actively prevents you from crashing when the world inevitably throws errors your way. Section 3. The Big Three Disciplines. So how do we actually run this software on a structural level? Well, the ancient Stoics wrestled with the exact same unpredictable, chaotic nature of life that we do right now. They dealt with annoying people, unexpected disasters, personal fears, you name it. To solve these universal problems, they organized their solutions into 3 overlapping but absolutely critical disciplines. This simple 3-step framework is all you really need to carry with you. First up is the discipline of perception, finding mental clarity by actively controlling how you perceive the world. You get to decide what events actually mean. Second is the discipline of action, being effective by directing your actions justly and with real purpose. And third is the discipline of will, finding profound wisdom by willingly accepting the things you just can't change. It's simple, but incredibly effective. Section 4. The dichotomy of control. This brings us directly to a principle from the very first day of the sourcebook, which is widely considered the single most important practice in the entire philosophy. The dichotomy of control. Picture 2 buckets. On one side are the things we completely control, our choices, our opinions, and our focus right now, in this present moment. On the other side are things we absolutely do not control, the weather, the past, or whether other people actually like us. Any time spent hurling yourself at those uncontrollable external events is completely, entirely wasted. It literally only breeds misery. Epictetus, who remember was a former slave who became a legendary teacher, he put this perfectly. By separating our lives into these two distinct buckets, we gain a massive advantage over the people who exhaust themselves fighting unwinnable battles. Think about it. When your flight gets delayed by a massive storm, yelling at the gate agent does absolutely nothing, right? The storm is out of your control. Your reaction, however, is entirely up to you. Taking control of those internal choices also means we have to take a really hard look at our daily habits. We have to reclaim our power from modern addictions. And I don't just mean substances here. I mean the urge to constantly check your phone, the compulsion to gossip, or the habit of endlessly complaining. Because true self-control, as the Stoics teach, is having the freedom to abstain. If you cannot abstain from these little compulsions, your mental clarity becomes completely clouded. Section 5. Ruthless clarity. All right, once you've mastered understanding what's in your control and you've reclaimed your freedom to abstain, you have to apply ruthless clarity to how you spend your very limited energy. Seneca warned us about this way back in ancient Rome with a quote that honestly feels like it was written yesterday. He basically says that if we aren't incredibly careful, trivial obligations, pointless grief, greedy desires, and endless social amusements will completely consume us. Before we even realize it, we'll look back and see we've given all our time away to things that simply didn't matter. So what's the most practical, real-world application of this Stoic clarity? It's surprisingly simple. You have to learn to say no. Say no to the noise, no to the extra obligations that drain you, no to toxic relationships. No is literally the ultimate tool for getting your time back. Sure, it might ruffle some feathers at first, but it is the only way you clear enough space to say a huge, enthusiastic yes to the life you actually want to live. Because without a clearly defined end goal, without knowing exactly what you are saying yes to, we fall victim to what the Stoics called oikeasis, which translates to false conceptions. This happens when your efforts lack any real direction or purpose. It's just mere activity, not actual progress. The Stoics strongly believed that wandering aimlessly through life without a guiding principle doesn't just lead to failure, it literally drives people into chaotic, dysfunctional madness. Section 6. The daily practice. So how do we prevent that? How do we make sure we stay focused, resilient, and effective? By making sure this new operating system stays active and updated every single day. See, Stoic philosophy isn't just some interesting book you read on a flight and then toss on a shelf. It is an active, daily habit. The Stoics were huge pioneers of daily rituals. They had a morning ritual to mentally prepare for the challenges they knew were coming, and an evening ritual to honestly reflect on their actions and choices from that day. It's all about continuously filtering the chaotic outside world through the steady straightener of your own reason. As the early texts in our source material constantly remind us, we don't study these ancient ideas just to sound super smart at dinner parties, right? We study them because true education, true self-knowledge brings actual tranquility, it brings fearlessness, and it brings real freedom. We're studying these great architects of thought for one reason, to figure out how to truly live. I'm going to leave you with this final, genuinely provocative thought derived from the text. Imagine someone walks up to you right now, today, and asks you this simple question. Who are you and what is your purpose? Do you actually have a clear, substantive answer to that? Or are you just too busy chasing unimportant things to even know? My advice? Use this Stoic operating system. Separate what you can control from what you can't, and start building an answer you can genuinely be proud of. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I highly encourage you to really reflect on that question today.